Hello YouTube, I'm Elworthy and welcome to another Total War battle. Today's going to be a little bit different. I'm just going to explain, this is sort of was a learning game for us, and all of the people on my team, Jimmy and Andouille, we had when we first spawned, we didn't quite know what map we were playing. But then when we did a survey, we realized we were playing on Arcole, and Arcole is a good 2v2 map. It's very strong for that. 3v3, I've never seen it done before. I didn't know how players spawned. So I look at my setup. I'm in the middle. My ally Andouille is over there, being the Austrians, and on my left, as Austria, we have the other player, Jimmy. So I'm talking to him. I'm like, hey, look, man, you know, I was like, hey, you should totally line up on this section right here, because I was watching another video where it's very strong to hold this flank, and if you secure this spot, that's a very good point, because they spawn right there, and that's pretty good. As the middle player, I thought, okay, I can hold the town, or I can push out and maybe try and diverge my units in this area. With regard to army composition, I'm bringing the same thing as last time, but for Austria, they have 3 units of the German Fusiliers over here, 3 more here, and 3 more here. It's an even number, 9 units of German Fusiliers. He has 2 Landschützen in front of the general staff. They're the actual skirmishers, 125, and he has 2 more over here. And then he has 2 units of dragoons on each flank. Then, for my other Austrian player, we have 4 units of the Uhlans. He has, see, this is a good setup, you know? I thought he was going to do what he went, but you'll see. We have 5 units of Jaegers, and let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's see, are these also Fusiliers? 6, 7. See, he has 7 units of regular, no, I'm sorry, 8. He has 8 units of the German Fusiliers, which is like line infantry. Then he has 1 unit of the 1st Regiment Emperor's Own, which is a very strong one to have. And they also brought the Archduke Charles for the Austrian side. And as usual, I brought the standard of having 5 light infantry units. I have 8 regular line units of foot, and then in the back I got my fencibles and my 2 King's German Legion units. I also end up having 2 units of light dragoons and 1 unit of regular dragoons. Now, I didn't recognize this map that well, so I thought there'd be like a way to go straight across, but you know, that's not my fault. And again, I'm just gonna kind of explain. We actually lost this game. We didn't do that good, you know. We can't win every game, and that's the facts, you know. I've put out videos where we win every single time, and you know, I thought that's not a very good way to show off this game, because we're not invincible, and you know, we can always learn to improve in battle, which is why this is a fun part. This is why we all agreed at the end of this battle, hey, let's share it. I think it's a really good one. So I'm going to fast forward to get going, and now we'll hit play again. Take a look at our opponents. We have the Prussian player, who will be fighting the Austrian. He has musketeer units, 2 units of musketeers. He has fusiliers. There's not a whole lot of time because he starts rushing up. And the British army, I had no idea this is what they were doing. They just put them all like as clumped together as possible, and they just go straight out. And we were like, hey, let's kind of do something, because this is a big map. Okay? This is pretty nuts. So the British player, he just moves all his men across. Okay? And it was kind of weird, because like I go over here, and I see him, I'm like, hey, why don't you line up over there? He's like, okay, sure. He lines up back here. And the reason why this is bad is because you want to be outside of the choke. If you're back behind the choke, probably going to lose. So I look at this and I go, okay. We're just going to start moving. But for some reason, my men weren't running. Or maybe they were, and I'm just not used to how slow they run through that terrain. No, they're walking, and I was having a lot of trouble in the beginning. That was my fault, though. It wasn't the game. I just didn't give good enough orders, because if you look at where I have them ordered to go, this is what I have set up. You know, this is my thinking on how I'm gonna set everything. And I thought, yeah, that'll be good if they're super aggressive and deploy over here. But that isn't quite what happens, because the British player just charges all his freaking cav right over, and the Austrian man Jimmy, he's all like, hey, I got these 125 units, trying to back him up with line, and this dude's just taking full storm. Look, all his cav rushed ahead. Okay, and I did this when we were doing the 2v2, me and Jimmy versus the French players. But, you know, there's something to be said for overextension. Even though we lost, I feel like this move was a bit unnecessary, because you'll notice how much of a distance the Austrian player still had to go. There was no way he would have made it. Usually in this map, the players on the left manage to secure this side of the bridge and just get right over. That's normally what happens, and the defenders get about to here, and then they duke it out. That's normally what happens, and that's what I thought was going to happen. Over here, just so you know, this player, I don't know what was going on, but he ends up just kind of sitting here. We didn't see much combat, which is helpful for the sake of recording. This guy brought a lot of old guard, and it'll become a pain later on. But I like this game because it's a good example of, like, coordination. This is a very good example of coordination with your team, and trying to make the most out of every unit. You gotta squeeze every value. Like, remember in the game where, again, it was me and Jimmy, and I was fighting that French guy, and those fensible units killed 2 units. It didn't make sense, but it happened. You know, things happen. So all these guys start marching over. This is another thing. This is a tough map because units move slow. You know, if you're losing and you have to pull back, it will be hard. So I don't quite know what was going on at the beginning. I was just trying to defend myself. These units were so slow in the back. I probably just forgot to run them. Are they running? Oh yeah, I just now ordered them to run them. Like, hey, get moving. You know, come on. The French player ends up taking this city, which ends up being a huge problem for me, because he puts his cav here, and I'm like, well, great. If I rush down to defend, because I'm thinking I want to take this side, you know, and get an angle on him, because you always want the flanking move. That makes sense. But my Austrian player, I don't know, if he was not being aggressive enough, he totally should have been up on this side, right here on this line, because that's the way to do it. So he's like, oh, hey, you better help me out. I don't know why, if he was maybe struggling with Austria, if he wasn't used to their units, because Prussia takes the slow way too. Look at this. Prussia goes across the marsh. This is plenty of time to line up your units, usually right here. You want them right in front of this water. And if so, you know, get as close as you can, but usually in front of the water. But he moves up. I think he does kind of figure it out later. And he has these units, but then he leaves these men to... These are hidden, by the way. To defend this side, which I guess I kind of see, but there doesn't seem to be much sense in walking all that way when you know you want to support your ally, because obviously I would be supporting mine. Yet, you don't see it yet, but I end up trying to take a position behind him. But right now I'm just thinking, hey, I gotta defend this spot, I want to stay alive and help my team. So the first part of the battle is going to be happening pretty soon. The British player ends up kind of lining up his light foot in a good position, and fortunately my Austrian player managed to get the first volley off with these awesome units. And I'm leaving the minimap up on purpose, by the way. I'm not trying to block your screen, but it helps me navigate the battle and also show you kind of how people like to move and play. Oh, and over here, I just want to state for the record, he's all lined up, and he claims there's all these hidden units. And I get now that there are, but, you know, make a move. Don't just sit there. So he gets all these great volleys off, but for some reason they're just not taking damage. Again, that's why I play England, because England is amazing. But he gets into a 2v, like, a situation where he's engulfed. And I'm like, well, crap, so I better move my men up to help support. And that's great. I don't do much movement here, because I'm just thinking, okay, I gotta resupport, gotta get in a position. But unfortunately, we're too compact, and actually these units end up taking, maybe he got lucky. No. The Fusiliers are taking damage. That means the line infantry is being hurt, and I get that he was trying to get in range, but this is a situation where you pull back the light foot, because even though you get more guns, Lightfoot are there, Lightfoot are the range, essentially. They're like the sniper. But you'd never want to send the sniper against the against the tank, because the tank is like the tank. So I start moving over. I'm thinking, hey, he probably won't go up on this ridge if he's so far extended. Maybe I can get some good shots off. And then this fight, you know, this is a very classic fight for this map, Arcole. And it was pretty substantial. Now, you need to understand something here. This player wasn't trying to not do anything, but I don't honestly know what he was doing. Because I think a good play would have been to go around and connect with us. I honestly think that would have been better. And that's a lesson learned to me for next time, you know? That's just what happens. So I start looping around. I don't quite know if when the Prussian player catches onto this, but eventually he will. And Austria starts losing the fight because Austria is not as good as England, because England is a power nation. These guys were, by the way, playing the three big powers. France, England, and Prussia. They're the best countries in the game. Straight up. And we had Austria and Austria versus England. I'm not saying we couldn't win. You know, we totally could win. But it would just require being more strategic, and we weren't quite as coordinated. So we end up, yeah, there's my friend right there. I end up lining up, and I'm immediately trying to reposition, because I'm like, hey, we gotta get this angle. So as you can see, these cav charge. Now, since the sticks were facing the other way, he didn't hurt the cav, which is important to know. You can go one way over them, and he does charge. But you gotta understand something. You want to be targeting low morale units, because you break them, and then you can get to the line. Because you'll see... okay. Right. So, sorry. I totally spaced out for a second. These are our guys, because I saw British, and, you know, when there's two British on the field in the same area, it's hard. So he charges forward. The player does exactly what you're supposed to do, sort of. Usually just have your line square and you save your cav for your own charge. But I get my men firing. I think I hurt these guys, and I feel really bad about that. Because, I mean, we're in skirmish formation, but I wanted to get those good shots off. So these guys need to be moving up more. I think I was just waiting to reposition, because France was over here, and according to where I was looking, it looked like he had units moving to counter me. So I knew I had to take a defensive measure. But that was the wrong move. I should have focused up over here. That would have been the better play. And I have this wing exposed, which doesn't make things easy. So I move up more. I'm trying to get in range without his units firing. I order my cav to charge in because we were really getting hammered on this side. But he gets good volleys off. I don't know why I charged that one. I probably should have just charged down there. I don't think I was really thinking too much because I was focused on other stuff. But you'll see eventually I make the order to go after them down here, because I route them. And I'm thinking, hey, we're doing pretty good. These units get great volleys on the sides. And I'm just like, you know what? We should run down the line. But he squares. And I don't notice this, and I get my cav killed because I could have ran back and hit all of these guys or re-attack the Prussians. But that's my fault. And fun fact, see how these guys are firing? When you're in square, you can actually reach the musketeer. You can have you have a range of 125, and it's really screwed up because I forgot about this when we were playing. So I thought I was getting free shots, but we weren't. Now the Austrian player Jimmy does do a good job. You know, he moves over to try and get an angle. I forgot what happened here. It was kind of blurry. I don't know how much what that was. So this is bad. Noob square right here. This is noob square, and I call it noob square because look. This gap, you have an arc going there, but there's a gap in the middle, where your units can't hit. They just can't hit. So I'm moving up, repositioning, pretty much my whole army. This was bad. I should not have lined up like this. I should have just pushed harder on this side. You know, as he pulls back, I push forward. That's ideally what you do. And that is what I do. I move them up because I'm getting ready to get a good attack off. And these units push up. You know, I'm trying to get the concave, you know. But I don't think I pushed up enough. And partly because I was being careful. Because I wanted to get those free shots, which help a lot. And then I see these cav coming over. And I'm like, alright. These units are really good. I have my Fencibles, I got my King's German Legion, and two regular foot. They can square, they can do everything that we need to do. But then he's like, moves his cav like all the way around, and it just gets really annoying. And this line battle is pretty ferocious, you know, he's like lighting up, you know, like all of the men. And the Austrians are doing their best to hold the line, but they're routing really fast. And eventually I'm like, hey, let's get in front of these. I think it's a good idea to send a pretty much fresh unit of foot right in front of his light foot, which admittedly they weren't firing, but you know, it gets tough. And then he starts getting pushed back, and I'm like, well, crap, this is gonna suck. And I didn't line up all the way either, mainly because I had other units moving to reposition, but still, these units were unsupported and undefended. Now, these units should route fairly quick, and ideally in this situation,
unit is dead, sir.
I had a good position, but eventually the final horse dies, so that's what happens. And we have great movements. I honestly have no idea why we're having trouble. I think it's because the Prussians had all their units over here, and I was totally unaware of that. Because I was like, hey, we're totally pushing back the British. We have no issue at all. Now, a good move for me to do would be to reposition these guys, because the French cav had moved away, and the French player really doesn't end up doing anything, because those are defensive units. And I need to learn more when I can see defensive units, you know, and not waste my time.
Infantry.
There's another guy. Yeah, Total War's freaking awesome. It's great. So I don't quite know what this move was. I think we agree, hey, look, he might not be paying attention enough to go into square, so we'll just charge him. And it works. He doesn't go into square. Again, kind of a needless sacrifice of cav. I don't want to say it was needless, because there was a purpose, but look, these two units, they're getting absolutely shredded. And Prussia just swoops around, and we're like, well, crap. We don't really have a good defense against it. And we're talking to our Austrian ally over here like, hey, let's do something, you know, send someone. And don't get me wrong, he will eventually, but there's a lot of sitting and not doing anything. And yes, there's the whole French army to contend with, but, you know, even though you can see when you're playing the whole minimap, there's something to be said for sending men to help your allies. Now, I don't know why these men weren't firing. Oh, they are firing, they're just... I hope I remember to pull them back. I think I do at the last second, because I kind of just light up on them. Oh yeah, so I take control, I'm like, hey, let's do this. I form into square, which is the correct move, because square is ridiculously important to have. And he moves away. That is what you want to do. And what I should have done is I should have repositioned my lights over on this side, but I instead move foot. But I don't think foot can reach across, so that's why I'd say it was a bad move. You know, it was a bad move. So I'm like trying to help my Austrian player get back and recover what he can. He has these units up here that, like, I mean, his general wasn't even near the battle. And that's a major issue when you're playing. You don't just sit the general back. You know, like my general, he was right up here to give morale to my troops. You know, you have a general for a reason. You paid money for him. Use him. You want to get the most efficiency out of your units, and that's just the facts. That's how it works. So this gets a bit confusing. These are my men. These are his men that are moving up, as you can see. So I fall back with these guys because they're really wounded, and these guys are trying to cover the retreat. We're getting good hits on them, but they're just not falling as much as we want them to. And we're totally repositioning. We're like, hey, we need to get out of here because France. And this gives them an opportunity to get lots of free shots, but I'm like, look, we got to secure this. This is our only shot. And our enemy's totally fine with pushing us back. This unit, I don't know if they ran out of ammo. They should have been shooting. Even though they would have lost, they're not going to win in a charge. I think it was repositioning for something. Maybe it was out of range. But, you know, yeah, those guys probably only get to fire once, maybe get a kill. Not the best. But if the Austrian player had his general up, I think that honestly would have made a huge difference. Because look how quick those men break. I mean, admittedly, they are wounded, you know. But like, let's look at this unit. 44, you know, that's still a reasonable amount. And admittedly, this is an overwhelming force. These men are totally undefended. And he runs away as he can. And I'm here on my own, essentially, to fight two people. Now, I know I did that in another one, but that's because those players weren't as good as these guys. Like, these guys had obviously played this map before also. I've played the map. I've seen the map played before, but I've never done it. And looking back on this, we all have been practicing, and we plan to do this map again and show you how to kick butt on this side of the field. Because, you know, it is balanced. Believe it or not, the map is balanced. 3v3 is just a bit tricky on this map because it's really easy if you have to be aggressive on this map, and if you're not being aggressive, then you're gonna get just destroyed, and it sucks. So he has this nice concave on me, and I don't know what I was thinking trying to engage this. Like, it made no sense. And I'd skirt my light foot. I don't know what I was thinking. I was in a bit of a panic, to be honest, because I was like, hey, you gotta get back here. Come on, I can't hold this on my own. Now, somehow these guys managed to hit across the river. I don't know why this was even working, because it shouldn't be. I think that's part of the reason why I moved up, is because I knew I had these guys, but I should have known they weren't really doing that much damage. And his Austrians make a good cover for my men, because ideally, the way fire will works is you fire at the closest unit, and all these units are looping around behind us. And so we see it, sorry, and I prepare with skirmishers, and he has a unit, his Archduke, his general, because he moved him all the way around. He totally got him around. And I fall back to get a better position, because I know how the concave works, and I tell everyone to fall back, because I also know that I need to regroup with my Austrian ally. Now look, he had this thing kind of covered. I don't know why he was using blocks. Blocks are absolute garbage when fighting. You do not want to block if you can. The only reason you block is for literally the physical space. You know, that's literally why you want to do it. So I'm facing that way. All these men are going to be facing that way. And this would have been a great time for France to send, see this cav unit way out there? That would have been a great time to send the carabiners directly in. So we fall back. We're doing the best we can. I leave this unit on its own because it's only 33, and I'm like, hey, I want to stall a bit, because while he's moving, I supposedly should get free shots. I think he either charges or it's just not good, because I'm like falling back. I'm like, hey, get out of there. You know, I want to help my guys, and these men can't get shot. And I move my cav up actually because, you know, he's moving, he can't get into square. That's what I thought. But then I see it and I'm like, whoa, 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 turn around, turn around, turn around. Even those two guys are like, it's like, hey, get out. Fortunately, I had these light infantry to cover. And he made a big charge here, and since they're in skirmisher formation, it was okay. But I totally didn't notice my general was sitting there. So I rushed my cav over to block, which is good. And then I order my general to get out, and I'm getting this nice concave, and I'm thinking, yeah, this is what I want. This is how you do it. And you'll notice these men are not in good specifications, because I was just thinking about getting everyone okay. To be honest with you, in this game, I could have thought a lot better about how I played. Because these guys, yeah, it's great that they're getting shots, but it's a waste of ammo. I should have had half of them pulled back and not firing. And I don't know why I give up this. I think it's because he was on this side, and I didn't want his men to be shooting at me without, like, because, you know, I like getting the advantage, and that's why you want to be in that particular situation. I forget if, yeah, that's my cav that I'm running up, because I'm hoping he doesn't pay attention, but they've run through this patchy spot, and that kind of ruins the whole charge. I wasn't paying attention to terrain. I do get it off, though, but they break, which sucks. So they make it, but it doesn't end up working. My men start to rout over here. These are the last of my guys getting into position to cover this side, because I can see British forces moving around. And at this point, it's a battle of them kind of pushing forward. And when you're the attacker, you just got to keep going, you know? You don't stop, you don't let up. You don't let them regroup. And I'm telling this guy, hey, get over here. Like, get your butt over here. And he's like, alright, fine, fine, fine. And he brings his guys over. At this point, Jimmy's dead. We lost him. And I have to fight 2v1, and it's hard. So he's doing a tactic where you send in one unit to take all the damage, and then they die. And you'll notice I have a noob circle right now. I'm in noob circle formation, and it sucks. Fortunately, they were in skirmisher, and I decide not to get the first shot off, which was a mistake, because I should have been moving guys in the middle, and then I'm like, okay, let's line up, let's get in a real formation. Because I'm thinking, you know, I can probably do this, you know? I have the men to do it. So I'm getting in position, and he's getting all these good shots off. And it's annoying, so I pull around, you know? And I'm buying time for the Austrian to show up. Come on, Andouille. These guys are totally out of position. They shouldn't be doing as well, and we're trying to get good shots off, and we are. You know, we're not gonna just bow down. Prussia's going a bit slow, which is helpful for us because we need to fight as little as possible,
Sir, our general is under attack.
As frequently as possible. If you're wondering, it's because the general was right here, and obviously there's going to be some fire, so I just pull him back, which is fine. These men get in position to repel this. And again, like, I'm leaving him this gap. That's not what you want to do. I think you'd want to go straight up. I think it's because this guy, my Austrian player, was also showing up, so it should have been okay. But then we lose all this firepower. Because look at this. He has pretty much the entirety of his British army was firing at us. And also these men weren't shooting. That's another thing. These guys were not being as efficient as possible. And I was really getting out-skirmished, because when you have light infantry against foot, they don't get to fire, so the correct move here would have been to move forward. But instead I'm like, hey, let's get into position to fire. And I line them up there for some reason. I don't know, I was pretty stressed out because I really didn't want to lose. And so I lost some judgment, which is another issue in this game. Now at this point, if you look at the balance bar, we still had a decent chance if we had been tactically thinking. But I think I totally shoot at my own men. Yeah, they totally get, like, destroyed from my men getting shot at. Yeah, this unit is like, what the hell are you doing to me? You're shooting it up. I should have moved that unit back. That was a waste of a unit, and I need to be more careful of that. So he moves in. I realize that I couldn't get my men out in time because I was trying to be very careful. And this is a situation where you want to have map awareness. If you see Cav charging you, just pull back, you know? Now, I was happy he moved forward because it meant my men would get to shoot. Ideally, they get the first volley. But he does the tactic of moving a unit in the front. But I'm like, nah, I won't have that. But it's not like I can't deal with this. So, I mean, he does charge. I don't know if I square or not. I do, I think. Or not. Nope, he gets it off. He just gets a clean one. And some of my forces were struggling. I end up pulling this unit back to try and help out. And we're managing less units here than we really want. I mean, look at this fight. You know, it's not like they're not taking casualties. You know, we got him. His cav charged in, which was brilliant, to help disrupt and get me some more gunshots. But it's very difficult when you're doing wars on multiple fronts. I'm trying to reposition to get the best angles possible, but I forget that these guys have free shots, and that ends up being a big factor later on. These guys are moving so slow, and they're fresh. I don't know why I wasn't running them. I think it's because of the marsh. So this unit uses all its ammo. And I don't realize it for like a second that these men are not firing. But eventually, I do order them to charge because they have nothing better to do because they're out of ammo, and if they don't have ammo, they're no use. And for some reason, I think these guys were out of ammo too. For some reason. And I'm trying to move up because I routed a unit over here. So I'm like, hey, we can do this, guys. We can do it. You know, and we're fighting over here, but it's okay. I wasn't too concerned about that because I'm like, hey, we totally have an edge on them. And honestly, I think we could have won if we were doing a bit better. A good move would have been to move another unit stretching out across here. But I totally forget about the cav. And I think that ends up being a major issue. These units end up firing on that unit, which they should have probably fired on that one. But I mean, look at this. I mean, this is what a line battle should be like. And I'm moving the fresh troop. Well, yeah, they're fresh troops to support. And I think this ends up being a problem too, because I do a lot of team kills in this particular battle, which is going to be a bit of an issue. I don't remember if they are in range though. If they're not in range, I think it ends up being okay with regard to positioning. Oh, these guys are doing... These guys are shooting, so they're shooting my men in the back, and that means I'm taking needless casualties, which I think is why I also didn't do good. So next time, I think I'll just try and do a loop around, because he gets a loop around here. But if I was up on this flank, I could have done better.
Infantry reporting. Our men are running, sir.
Okay. These men get wiped out, which kind of sucks. So Austria's like, go, 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 go help out over at the front. He's like, I got this. And I'm like, all right, good job. And this guy was trying to shoot at him. He was winning slightly too, but then they go back to being hidden. And I'm so crunched up because he has men getting free shots, and I just don't like that. I end up getting routes, you know. He rushes, and I click square on one. I don't get the square off on the other one. I didn't pick the right one to square, and it sucks. But he didn't care about my line infantry.
One of our units has used all its ammunition.
He cared more about the general for Austria, which sucks. So yeah, see, I'm shooting my men in the back, and they're getting fire through. This was just not a good fight. We were in a bad position, you know. I countercharge a bit because for some reason I didn't have enough men to form square, so they didn't, and that ends up being an issue because he's just running through my lines, and I'm like, bro, what do I do? So I'm like, okay, just fall back, get the men back, and I'm like, all right, that's totally fine. I order an inspire on my men to try and keep them fighting longer, to buy time for Austria, because I'm like, hey, Austria, you know, you have a chance. But then while I'm doing this, I totally forget that the French player ends up being like totally untouched. This is the first time we've seen French forces shooting right now, and then this French cav comes out of nowhere, and we're like, well, crap. I guess you probably should have brought your cav over. You know what? I think we could have done much better if Austria had brought its cav over.
Our men are running, sir.
Because they're already so far back. So eventually there was a unit that was up here. I don't know if they were cav or what, but they run. No, they were just regular units. And we're getting pushed back really, really badly. And we're just trying to hold on, and I'm repositioning. I probably should have had this angle flank around, but I wanted to keep the angle with that because I trusted my Austrian player to hold the line. That was a big mistake though, because there's only 48 versus 71 plus 48, so get an extra 71 men, and that's pretty bad. Fortunately, Austria did help. I do commend him for that, for trying, and we did our best to try and get those angles that we had, but they just had better men. Like, I'd love for someone to analyze this and tell me what we should have done better than I'm doing now, because it's like I'm trying to pull back, I try and line up. Yes, I am aware these men are not fully in position, but you gotta understand something. I don't know what that is. I guess he ordered more men to walk over or something. I try and line up in a very good spread out, skinny line. Those men are getting shot, so I know I'm free to do so in moving up. And then when he advances, I'm able to get first shots. These fencibles were not the best choice to hold off all these guys at once. But look, it's the King's German Legion Foot. These are my elites, you know, they're my best unit. They're like the old guard of France, you know. These guys are here to kick butt, and they weren't firing. So yeah, that sucks. So Austria moves up his men. And we were about to fire too, but then I pull back because I think I realize I'm losing over there against the French. So I end up taking needless damage without return fire, which is a major issue. And then he charges in Blackfoot. I don't run Blackfoot anymore. I used to. I did in the French game, but I did thinking, and I thought line would be better. I think I'm going to switch back to my original build where I had Blackfoot and I had, you know, just better men. Because I don't think having so many lines really made a difference when Blackfoot are just...
Our men are running, sir.
They're better line because they have the same amount of men. So I square, and it kind of works, sort of. I'm trying not to square these guys over here. You know, I don't know where the British Blackfoot were hiding these guys. They were sneaky. So immediately as he falls back, I'm pretty sure I get back into a line. Or at least I should be getting back into a line. Oh wait, no, I'm still in melee, so I'm fighting that British foot guard unit, which sucks horribly, because it means I have 1 unit, and the general staff is taking major morale damage, and he only has 3 units. Somehow he's not
Our
dead,
men
though.
are running, sir.
Like, look over here. You know, that's my general. You know, he totally, you know, didn't get shot. And that's brilliant. These Blackfoot, like, line up, and I'm like, okay, maybe I can get a little bit of an edge around him with what I have left. And ideally, we have cover in, like the flank. Oh, sorry. They have a thing going on. I'll deal with that later. So eventually, the cav shows up, and everything's all good and stuff for them. And the Austrian player's like, alright, we gotta do something. And I'm actually gonna fast forward this section, not because I'm in a hurry or anything, but because there's a lot of running. And no one really wants to watch running, because these guys end up doing pretty much nothing. And I'm going as fast as possible, because he just runs away. Which there's nothing wrong with, to be honest with you. Now over here, you'll notice I did line up. Or no, I'm sorry, that's his. Okay, I'll keep going. So all my routing units, even though there's like 31 men here, which is enough, in my opinion, to get a couple good volleys off, their morale breaks, and that's pretty bad. Because the French player, you know, he has a whole army. You know, the French player's barely done anything at all. And that's a bit of an issue, considering it's kind of a 1v3. And, you know, even though the other English player pretty much just has that unit of Blackfoot are really good. And that makes it a bit harder to deal with. These men should have been lined up. I don't know why they were in square at all. Maybe he was afraid of Cav. I'm getting a bit of lag, so I'm just going to go back to play. But I don't know if... yeah, I don't know why I was using squares. If you watch this, Andouille, please don't use square. So we were discussing what to do here at this ridge, because this is an important choke point, you know? This leads to his entire main force, even though his main force really didn't do much. Admittedly, I do see now that the French were a bit of an issue, and that you couldn't just walk away, but you could have brought your cav over. That's what I would say. That's the only thing I would say. Just bring your cav over. Usually when someone asks for support, usually they're asking for cav, or if they're not asking for cav, they'll say specifically what they want you to send over. They'll say, hey, send me a line or two, and you probably should oblige, because that means they're losing. It's not wrong to, you know, want to hang on to what you got, but if what you have isn't working, then that's not really going to make much of a difference. Now, is it? Now, the Austrian player does have his Landschützen, pretty much light infantry, Austrian light infantry, getting these free shots on the British 42nd Black Watch, the Highland unit, and all of our men are routing, you know, together, because, yep, and see how, like, slow, even though they're clumped up, look how slow they run through this, you know. You just can't really walk through very well. Again, with the squares, and I don't know what he was thinking. I get that there's cav here, but look, you don't see the cav charging, okay? They're walking. Walking cav is not a charge of cav. You only want a square when they're charging, and they're like, maybe, like if you had a square here, maybe if they're like right here where you can see that break in where the rock is, that's about when you square. So I don't know. Yes, I do realize that there's a range bonus, but it's just not as effective. And the French player's like, yeah, we'll just let you chill here with your whole army, and we'll fight this little group. Now, we were thinking about it, and we're like, okay, look, we have about 25% chance of getting through this. And we don't give up, you know. We're players who fight to the end, and we stick with it, because obviously you're watching this replay. That means we finished the battle. If we didn't finish the battle, because this isn't a live recording, you'd know that you wouldn't be watching it. Pretty much that simple. So we fought completely to the end here. Both me and Jimmy, we both were watching. We were helping him out, like, hey, the team speak was ridiculous. We were like, oh, do this, you know, like, because we were trying to get in a good angle. And I can't look at his troop formation lineup. I can just see where he's going. But pretty much we ordered him to line up on this ridge and get his light infantry over here and use the square to fire at two fronts at once. But looking back, I think it would have been better to line up on this side. Sorry. I get that you were blocking cav, but because you were like this, I mean, you could have lined up over here. This just wasn't an effective way to line up. And these men aren't shooting. You need to get shooting shots. So eventually, I do tell him to do that. He brings his cav over, but you can't cav charge over this, and I didn't know how bad it would be, especially getting bogged down by his own men. You know, a cav charge really ain't gonna help that much. And he's getting these shots off, which is really good. These are fully healthy. A lot of Austria's army was really healthy, and they actually get they get the charge off, which is pretty funny. He tries to go in the square, but like it just gets awkward. So he pulls back, and they're so slow. So essentially, he shouldn't have cav charged, and that was my mistake, because I was telling him, hey, you should cav charge, make him go in a square so you get free shots, but his men weren't doing enough shooting. They didn't work. They didn't do what we wanted them to do. And then this unit of Polish Legion, they're really strong, actually. You gotta watch out for them. So eventually, Andouille's men do get relined up, and the square unit does do what they're meant to do, square. And he gets good volleys, but I don't know. When you're playing, sometimes it helps to look at where your men are shooting. They can, you know, this is an angle where, yeah, you could foresee them getting kills, and, you know, we do route that, which is nice. From here, yeah, you could totally fire at these guys, you know, this is totally legitimate. But these guys, no. I think you want to focus fire over here. I think that's how you want to do it. So we're like, okay, let's just get rid of the French player, let's kill off the Black Watch. And we do, and that's very helpful. And if you look, France isn't being overly aggressive with his cav. These guys, however, have great angle on that, because they're uphill of them, because he moved them down. I'm not sure why. I think it was to get in range, but you'll notice he's not focus firing, so they're going to be like, I mean, look at this. Isn't this absolutely terrifying? You know, if you're an Austrian soldier, and you're just like, hey, all this cav just showed up. But I think the same thing happens to the French player. They get bogged down, but because there were these lines supporting, they just, you know, I think they're up on the hill enough that it wouldn't help. So I immediately am like, okay, quick, don't go, get back in a line, get back in a line. And I tell him this, and like he does, and you know, we're holding. You know, we're doing pretty good for losing on a 3v3, because you've seen us when we fight, you know, 3v3. It's hard, and I don't think less of any of the people who we win against or that we lose against. You know, I'm not going to be like, oh, you guys suck or anything. No, you guys did a good job. I think all these people did really good, actually, when they were fighting. And this is pretty calm and quiet. And so they get these trades, but in the end, I mean, look, they got a promotion. I mean, the French team got a promotion. That's how ridiculous it is. I think it's every 100 kills to get promoted, which is essentially like pretty much killing a line. But sorry, yeah, you have to do it kind of on your own. Good volleys though. But the reason why they weren't killing, looking back, I mean, this is a good angle, sort of. This is not quite as good. These really obstruct. I didn't realize how obstructive they would actually end up being. And in the battle. Now this is good. I think this is a very good angle to be firing from. But you just can't beat a concave. And this is, I think, a brilliant example of how to push forward here. And for some reason he cav charges. I think we told him to again because we were like, hey, disrupt their fire. Which was right. I think you do want to do that, but I don't think you send both cav looking back. I think you want to, I mean, what are you going to do? We had so few units, we just knew we had to get in there. And he pulls back like he should. He squares, and we're like, get out of there, but it's too late. The cav kind of hit, and we get, you know, we distract him. And his cav, the French cav charges in, we tell his cav to get out. One of our cav units does get out, which can be used for another charge. We did completely like wreck their cav, which is wonderful. Which is really what we are trying to do in this situation overall. But in the end, we end up just like not really making it through. So this is going to be a bit of a long video, but just so you know, I'm gonna fast forward like really quick, and yeah, that's pretty much it. So good game to everyone, and I'll see you guys next time.